Hey, what's up, everybody? Today has been an awful day. I need to start over and just talk about this post that I just had in my story saying that my daughter was in the ER for 5.5 hours. We went in, and let me just get my thoughts correct because it's taking me some time to really just formulate what I'm going to say. And even then, I'm livid as a parent and as a person who is supposed to trust these people, these physicians that are there, that are supposed to help us out. So starting off this morning, my daughter and I, we went on a walk, our normal walk, our daily walk. She was in her stroller for 45 minutes. I push her along, and at the end of our walk, we end up at the park where she gets out, she stretches her legs, she runs around, she enjoys the sunlight, and she's happy. She's a child. On this day, on our 45-minute, the first 45 minutes of our walk, she's in her stroller, she's playing with her baby, saying, tree, 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 all that is there. And she's happy. She's has her snacks, and she's ready to go play. And we get to the park, and usually she loves to run straight to the slides or, the big play park. But today she just wanted to go to the swings. So the little baby swings, they have like the little seat and everything. And so I popped her in there, and we were swinging for like 15 minutes. She was smiling and having a great time. And, she was just, being herself and enjoying the playground. And, after about 10, 15 minutes, I pulled her out of the swing, and I was going to put her back in the stroller, but, her baby was in the seat. So I pick up the little baby and her toy, and I put her back in. And as she sat down, she went, ah. And so sometimes my daughter has long hair, like very long, straight hair. So I thought I might have pulled it. And so I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, baby. Here's some water. I'm sorry. And she's like, ah. So she starts rubbing back here. And I strap her in, and we start walking. I give her some water, and she's like done with it. And, we're going from the playground to like the exit of the park. And, I start noticing she keeps touching it, and she's like starting to get a little fussy. And by the time we cross the street, because we live a block away and a block over from the park, as we get to the sidewalk, she starts really getting fussy, and she starts crying, da, da. And I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, are you okay? I don't know if I pulled her hair or what happened. So then, she's really starting to get fussy, and this is not normal. And she's reacting to something. So I was like, there wasn't any bees, there wasn't any ants or anything around where we were. So I was like, what happened? So I check her out, I pull her back here, and nothing was there. But she's obviously, something's bothering her. And I was like looking in her hair, and I was like, something had to have bitten her. I didn't see a bee, there was nothing there. But we get home, she's really crying now. She's like, yeah. And if you know my daughter's tough. She falls, and she's just, she's durable and she's strong. But if she's crying this much, something is really and truly bothering her. And by the time we get home, usually the routine is I open the door, I roll the stroller in, pop her out. She runs over to Rosa to say good morning. And, then we watch a little bit of cartoons, then we have yogurt, and then life begins. She's just crying now, grabbing her head. And Rosa's like, what's the matter? What's going on? And I said, I don't know. I think something bitter. She's like, was there a bee or anything? I was like, I didn't see any flying insects, nothing around there. There might have been something in the stroller. So, she's crying now. It's already starting to go on 10, 15 minutes. She's inconsolable. And we say, you know what, let's pop her in the tub. Let's get some warm water on that. Let's try to comb it out, see if there's something in there. And so we get her undressed, and as we're getting her undressed, she's just really frustrated. And I pop her in the tub, putting the warm water, and she starts kind of calming down. But the moment I get any kind of comb or brush, just to try to comb around to see what's going on in there, something's obviously bothering her. So I know something has bitten her. And we bathe her. We try to get her to the couch and to try to watch cartoons. Usually she just goes crazy for cartoons, and she just chills out. Nothing. She's just crying and screaming. So we gave her a little bit of Tylenol to see if that will hurt, calm the pain. And I'm like, man, if she doesn't calm down, like we need to get this checked out, because if it's a spider bite, or even if it was an unseen bee, maybe a bee just landed in there, she might be allergic to it, or she might have a bad reaction to the spider bite. Like, we need to be safe and sorry. So we call our doctor. The doctor doesn't answer, and Rosa leaves a message, and it goes on another 15 minutes, and we decide to make the call. It's like, let's just go to the ER. Let's just, because we don't know what's happening to her. We get there. Obviously, there's COVID protocols. Only one of us gets to go in. It's me. I go in, and we start the same protocols where the nurse checks us in. You know how you get weighed, you check your heart rate and all that, and they ask you the preliminary questions about what happened. And I told the check-in nurse, like, hey, I think we were at the park. I pulled up my daughter out of the swing, put her in the stroller, and I think she got bit by something, and that's why she keeps doing it. He's like, yeah, there's like this certain kind of bug. I can't remember, like asp or something like that. I'm not sure if that's a bug. I thought an asp was a snake that bit Cleopatra, but he said there was a certain bug that's coming out right now. It's spring, so you can't really see them, and they bite, and when they sting, it sends like a shock through you, and that makes sense to me. So he gets it. He knows what's going on. So we check in, we go to a room. We barely, the one good thing is we didn't wait long before they came, and they put the little heart rate thing in there, and the doctor shows up, and this is where it gets stupid. The doctor walks in like she's in outer space with this scuba diving mask and an air tank in the back. And I understand COVID protocols, but this is a little too much. But you know what? Better be safe than sorry, I guess. Whatever. And she's like, oh, what happened? I was like, I think my daughter got bit by something, and I'm pretty sure she got bit by something, because she keeps grabbing right back here and like on about still screaming. So it's now 10:30. She started crying around 8:45, 9 o'clock. And the doctor's like, oh, okay, well, let me check her. So Annabelle is just uncomfortable. Anything that comes around here, she's just so uncomfortable, and So obviously there's something right in this little spot back here that's bothering her. The doctor kind of moves her hands around, but then she starts feeling under the skull and around the neck. And she's like, oh, her lymph node, there's all these bumps. And she's like, feel them. And I'm like, there's no bumps, but what about her bite? She's like, it's not a bite, because then it wouldn't be like, bumpy over here too. And I'm like, there aren't any bumps, but okay, you're the doctor. She's like, you know what? We're going to get an ultrasound, and then we're going to do a nose swab for this. And I'm like, for an insect bite? She's like, it's not an insect bite. She didn't get bit by any bugs. I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, no. It's got to be her lymph nodes. Let me check her ears, and let me check her throat. She checks her throat. Remember, this kid has been crying hysterically for about an hour and a half at this point. So the lady's saying, oh, her mouth is a little red. I'm like, does she have tonsillitis? Like, her tonsils, she said, they're not swollen, but there's a little red. I'm like, okay, she's been crying. And then they say her ears, they're not shiny, but they're not perfect. So there's nothing wrong with her ears. Her throat is red, maybe because there's something in there, but she's like, we're going to do a swab for virus, COVID, RSV, all this stuff. Okay, so they think it might be respiratory, it might be lymph node problems, and whatever. We're gonna get an ultrasound, because she knows that these things are swollen, which I could not see. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, but what she was trying to show me, I could not see, nor could I feel. All I can see is my daughter grabbing at the one spot where I think she got bit by something, but the doctor said it's not a bite. So if you're a parent of a toddler and you know what it's like to hold down a toddler for any kind of medical test, shots, swabs, it's awful. And when they're already in pain, it's unbearable to see them go through more pain. And if you're an adult and you've gotten a COVID screening through the nose, think about that as a child, a 22-month-old. My daughter had to get that because this doctor said that she had a respiratory or lymph node problems. So I had to hold my daughter. They stick that thing up there on her bow, screaming even more. Boogers are coming down. She's yelling, da, 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 da. Then the ultrasound guy comes in, and guess what he finds? Nothing. There's no problem with her lymph node. They're perfectly fine. So the doctor's stuck on this lymph node situation. Like, you know what? You know what? They're gonna wait a little bit, but we're gonna do give her a steroid because I really do think that her lymph nodes. And I was like, I can't hear a word you're saying, doc. What are you talking about? Steroids and antibiotics and seeing how you're gonna treat this virus that's not even formed yet because a virus might form. And she said that there's a virus about to form. So I was like, can my wife come in? Because I need you to talk to me, because in this mask she's wearing, you cannot hear a single word she's saying. And I have a toddler who's screaming in pain and agony on this side. And this person muffled up, like Darth Vader over here, but not as clear as Darth Vader. So I say, can Rosa come in? And they say, oh yeah, let her come in. And so they try to explain it to Rosa, and Rosa's just confused. It's like, how is this about a bug bite? She's like, no, it's her lymph nodes. So we're gonna give her a steroid. And like, why do we need a steroid? Because it helps the the inflammation that's there, and it's an anti-inflammatory and blah blah blah. And so they come in and they give her this steroid because they say she's got lymph node problems, and we're gonna wait to see how she is. Guess what happens? She's still in pain from this thing back here. And the doctor's like, let's see. Well, you know what? We're going to do a throat culture now. And we're going to have to test her for mono because she might have mono. The throat culture already, she's already had this swab up her nose. Think about a COVID swab. It's basically what she had. They had already done the ultrasound where I had to hold her down and they had to check. They found nothing on all came back false. Nothing. Then they say, we're gonna do a throat culture and we're gonna check for mono, and then you can go home. If we're gonna check, maybe we might need you to stay overnight because her lymph nodes are really, really bad. And we're like, it's just baffling me. It's like, she was fine for 45 minutes. How is this like her lymph nodes decide to like spark? Like if she got shocked, like the lymph node decided to go to just like that and start hurting her out of nowhere. That's the whole thing that blows my mind. And so once again, I have to hold my screaming daughter who's in pain. And then they go and they try to swab something because they need a check for throat cultures because she has some unknown virus that has not formed yet. And then the worst yet was that they had to draw blood from her, and I had to hold her down, and they stuck a needle in her. Mind you, the best part about this day was this young man who did draw the blood. He needs a raise. I don't know how he can deal with a toddler in agonizing pain and not bruise her and do an amazing job with that needle. But my daughter did not have to go through any of that. They said, wait, we need to take a test and we need to see this. Because she has something wrong with her lymph nodes. She has mono. She must have mono or some other virus. So the culture's going to come back in an hour, and the results for mono are going to come back. And mono was just like something that they needed to check to cover the bases because this one doctor said that her lymph nodes were swollen, and another doctor said maybe you should check. A doctor who wasn't there to check our daughter, just going off the word of this doctor that was present. All right, stay tuned for part 2.